When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can be hard. Like early 90s heavy metal hard.
I'm yelling and screaming and I'm loud. Roar!
Geico makes it easy. You can review and update your policy or report a claim on Geico.com or the Geico mobile app. Because shouldn't we all have a little less stress in our lives?
I'm not even upset about anything!
Blog Talk Radio.
Live from Fort Bragg's backyard, this is the show that put the 110 Nation on the map. There is only one nation, the 110 Nation, and you're listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show. Covering each and every sport across the board. There is no sport too large or too little. It's time to talk the talk. Here we go. Here's the man, the founder, and your host, Mr. CJ Sports.
I want to welcome everybody to the 110 Nation Sports Show. I am your host, Mr. DJ Sports. You can follow me at DJ Sports1. You can follow the 110 Nation at 110 Nation. Also, check us out on Facebook, my personal fan page, Mr. CJ Sports, the 110 Nation fan page, 110 Nation Sports. Also, check out our blog site, www.the110nationsports.com, for all the latest going on here at the 110 Nation. Got to make sure that I shout out and thank Fit for Life. You guys can check them out on Facebook. Fit for Life shared. They got a nice little special going on this month for October. Shared it over on the 110 Nation fan page. Make sure you guys check that out. You can also go to our site, www.the110nationsports.com. On the right-hand side, I have a banner. All you do is click on it. It puts you to the nearest location. It lets you know where the nearest location is. Lets you know what's going on. 24/7, 365. Get your gym on. Clean facility. Great courtesy staff. Everything you need. Make sure you guys check them out, Fit for Life. Also going to thank Snafu Seasoning, the official sponsor of Racing with Big Sweat, Thursday night, 9 p.m. 100% all-natural, no preservative meat rub. Goes great on many, many things. All you do is call in and be part of the show, talk to the host, talk to the guest, be part of the show Thursday nights, and Big Sweat will hook you up with a free bottle of Snafu Seasoning. Also got to thank I-95 Sports Network. Big shout out to them today. As they were sharing some love over on their Facebook page as well today for us. I'm very thankful for that. Make sure you guys check them out, and also Mile High Radio. Both of those networks rebroadcast or syndicate our shows, and I'm very thankful for all of those for broadcasting our show, rebroadcasting our shows, help sponsor the shows, and help make this all possible. Don't forget, you can catch this show on Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, Block Talk Radio, over our site, www.the110nationsports.com, of course, over at I-95 Sports Network and Mile High Radio as well, and to figure out how well they keep up with it. I know that I downloaded everything, and all the shows were up until the 21st of September. Then I noticed they stopped pulling the shows. I don't know if there's something wrong with the feed or not, but Satchel is another, S-A-T-C-H-E-L, is another location that we have been having the show sent to be broadcast, the podcast blog thing. So trying to see what has got going on now as I'm talking about it on the air. Yeah, see, last episode, I don't understand. The last episode that they pulled was September 21st. I don't know. I got to figure out how to make that happen and how to get that fixed. We got the number one night here on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. First of all, I want to thank all the new listeners that have jumped on board, all those that have gone over, liked us on Facebook as we continuously grow day after day. Phenomenal numbers over the weekend. Got to thank all of those. Hopefully some of you guys came back after this weekend and decided they're going to check out some shows during the week. Make sure I want to thank our caller from the 310 that called in yesterday. I was glad to have that caller on the show. Had a blast talking with them. I got Mike joining me here in a second. He is going to let us know what's going on Friday night here on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network with Hot Laughs with Stats, 8 p.m. Also let you know where he can be found on Facebook and Twitter. And we're supposed to have Mark Rette of Rette Jones Racing joining us tonight. Don't know if it's been confirmed. I know originally it was Monday, and then we had things go on, so it ended up being a Tuesday thing. Then we both slipped our minds last week and ended up being Wednesday. I sent them the link over there tonight, so not 100% sure if everything was confirmed before today and he's going to make it or not. I know they got a lot of big things going on as they're getting ready for Talladega this weekend, as they're going to have a truck over there running in the Talladega race, the truck race over at Talladega. So if they don't make it, understandably, as I know they got a big weekend coming up. We also got Izzo joining us at got Izzo joining us at 9:30 to talk about the NHL as it's getting full swing going on. There's a lot of things that Izzo wants to talk about, so we're looking forward to having him join us tonight. Without any further delay, though, as we got many things to jump into tonight, don't forget, next week, Monday night, we kick off at 7 o'clock. 3-hour shows. Yes, that means Mike, myself, and the crew are going to have to do our homework and do a little digging, a little better preparation for the shows, as we got another hour to fill. But that opens up our opportunity for being a more diverse show. Opens up the opportunity to having even more guests during the show. That's been kind of two of our big things. Is one, we just run out of time, and two, we end up having booked people so far in advance sometimes because there's not enough room to get everybody on the show. We got, like tomorrow night, we got Shannon joining us, and we got Sarah Cornett-Chain joining us. We got Dylan Lumpkin joining us. So there's already an hour and a half to 2 hours already gone consumed with what we got going on. So that's why next Monday we're kicking off 7 o'clock. That means Rubber News Racing will move to a 6 o'clock time slot, which all kind of worked out because I got to go in an hour earlier every not every day, but on Mondays is my truck comes earlier now. So that gives me an opportunity to be home a little bit earlier and get better prepared for the show. So very, very fortunate for that. But without any further delay, let's go ahead and get Mike on the show as we got things to jump into. Let them know what's going on Friday nights, where they can find you, and let's do what we like to do here.
Yes, I do, CJ. Great show on Friday. I confirmed one guest, and two others are in the system, as they say. I'm touching base with two other people. The first guest that's been confirmed, and that's definite for Friday night, is C.J. Lehman. We've had him on different shows a couple of times this year, but this show will basically concentrate on this past weekend, which he did very well, and basically since the last installment when he was on Steve's show, which I co-hosted that night, where they had wrecked the car, and since then they rebuilt the car in a week, and they went up to it after the end of the Riverhead season. They went up to Evergreen in Pennsylvania, and CJ placed fourth with Visconti Motorsports, and then also won the Pro Stock feature, which up there it's considered a Pro Stock, but his family car was a Charger in Riverhead, and of course Charger's not running. He takes the family car and runs it at other tracks in basically a street stock, Pro Stock situation. So, but he won the King of the Green on Sunday, and so we'll have him on to discuss his season and his end of season, a very successful year. 4 was his big number. 74 is his par number, but 4 was his big number because he was in 4th place for the longest time in the standings, and as far as the track standings, and also finished 4th in that race. And so 4 has obviously been his lucky number this year. So we'll talk to him in the first hour. The second hour, I'm very hopeful of getting a couple of Wayland Modified Tour guys to come on, specifically Doug Kobe, who won the seasonal title, and also reaching out to Justin Bonsignor for hopefully Friday, and because he won the race. And I also have in the system, and I've been trying to get him all year, Ryan Priest, and I'm going to touch base with him through Eddie, I believe. Eddie Partridge will hopefully hook me up with him and get him on a future program, if not Friday night. Busy as he is with different modified shows and driving a modified for Eddie, driving a modified, an SK mod for somebody else, and he also won that at Thompson during the World Series. So that's, I saw a video where he made a move to pass from second place and ended up snatching that victory. So he got a victory on Sunday as well in the companion race to the tour race, or the Wayland Modified race on Sunday at Thompson. So we'll hopefully have him on in future weeks, if not on Sunday. But Doug Kobe and Justin Bonsignor are the two individuals that I'm reaching out for to fill one of the hours. And so that will be the 2 hours. And again, I'm attempting to get another support staff member of the tracks, either some publicity person or PR person to tell what they do at their specific track, because everything's a little bit different with each track. And again, going to the Northeast, either a track in Connecticut or New Jersey with Wall Stadium, I'm putting feelers out for those individuals too to get back to me. So we'll definitely have 2 hours of a good show again on Friday. As far as my social media, you can get me on my personal Facebook page, the Hot Laps with Stats pages. And again, I ask for fan input, especially in the off season. If there's somebody you'd like to hear from that we didn't get a chance to talk to over the course of the season, by all means, reach out to me, private message me on Facebook, and I will definitely do my part to get them booked for an off-season program here. And also, one last thing, my Twitter, that's for the 2 social media places where you can basically find me, is Facebook and the Twitter. My Twitter is @Stats108. And finally, and the last thing that I contribute to is the publicity or the articles on the 110 pages, and also my golf blog, which this week centers on the Tiger Woods less tournament, but still an interesting golf tournament last week. And again, I'll be catching up more with the PGA in the sense of the golf in terms of diversity in our seasons and our sports that we want to cover here on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network, CJ. So very interesting week and a very interesting, hopefully, show Friday night.
Oh, disappointing news. Cleveland Indians finally lost the first game in 20 nights. Was hoping for back-to-back sweeps, but I guess I was asking for a little too much there. As the Cleveland Indians find themselves up 3-1. Should I assume they're coming back home for Game 5? I'm not sure how their rotation works here in the MLB playoffs. Anywhere else, it's 2-1, I believe.
2-1 at this point because they didn't sweep, so it's I guess 2-1, right? They just lost today. That's their only loss. They hadn't lost in as far as this round, so I think it must be 2-1 because it's not 3-0, right?
Yeah, the series is 3-1. I'm trying to figure out how the play out.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how their playoff schedule works and whether.
When you talk about the home team, okay, got you. Yeah, the home and versus where they're playing next.
Yeah.
From a pure sports fan perspective, I think a very interesting, should it happen, a very interesting series would be the Cubs and the Indians, because then you'd have two segments of a fan base, two fan bases that have waited forever for their clubs to win, totally a World Series championship. And like you said all along, and I guess if the sports gods are shining on Cleveland, I guess that if there is any such thing, then your club is in good shape. But I from a pure sports fan, with no rooting knowledge in the two teams at this point, other than the fact that I'm, crossing my fingers for you, as it were. That would be an interesting series, just on who's going to break their jinx and have success this year. Should the Cubs get there as well, and the Indians to the World Series.
Now, the Cleveland Indians do play in Toronto tomorrow at 4:00. So that it is a 2-3-2 series. In other words, first 2 games in Cleveland, next 3 games in Toronto. Wrap things up in Cleveland for the final 2 games. So hopefully Cleveland wraps everything up tomorrow at 4:00 in Toronto. But if not, they got 2 opportunities back home to wrap things up. Chicago and Los Angeles, their series tied at 1 apiece at this point. They play tonight, or are playing tonight, and will be playing tomorrow night as well in Los Angeles. So we'll definitely, throughout this show, keep an eye on the Dodgers and Cubs and see how that comes out. As right now, they're in the bottom of the first, and it is tied 0-0. Arizona won last night.
Yes.
From every report that I have seen, heard, listened to, I did not miss nothing last night.
No. And then Mr. Fitzpatrick had another stinker of a game. So much so when I posted it on the One Tent Nation pages that they are talking already about who the next Jets quarterback is going to be. So, as I put on the top of the article, we Jet fans, as it were, can only live in 1969 so long, which is the last time and the only time they made the Super Bowl with Joe Namath. So that tells you how long ago that was. Some people weren't even born the last time the Jets were in the Super Bowl. So that just goes to show you how long it's been. But yes, he had another bad game, CJ, and obviously the Jets need some general manager help because they need somebody to adjust their roster or somehow make better picks or whatever. I don't know what the drafting and trading idea is, but definitely they need front office help of some sort. I think the coach is not too bad if he had people to work with, and that's, the offense has totally gone away. Now it's just not the quarterback. It's like you say, Eric Decker might be out. I still haven't seen anything definitive on whether he will be back. He's their number one receiver, or number 1A, I would guess, with Brandon Marshall also. But so everything is kind of slowed down offensively, and whatever the Jets are doing in positively, again, comes on the defense. But they don't have the type of defense that, say, the Broncos do, that everything could fall on their shoulders. They're not that good yet, if they ever will be. But they're not on. They're good defensively, but they're not as good as the Denver, who are a team that can rely on their defense if their offense goes away for a period. And so that's partly the Jets' problem at this point in my view.
Not only did Fitzpatrick had a bad night, the NFL had a bad night. TV ratings down. And they're not expecting things to get any better this week. I believe I heard Tennessee and Jacksonville, if I remember correctly, your matchup for this Thursday night, and correct me if I'm wrong on that. So there's been a lot of talk today on different shows whether or not the NFL needs to do away with the Thursday night show and maybe balance the lineup a little bit better on Sunday, because as of right now, you get one game taken away for the Thursday night game. You got one game taken away for the Sunday night game and the Monday night game, and then most of your games are during the day. So you're limited. You limit yourself already 3 nights of the week: Thursday, Sunday, and Monday, because you only got one game. So you got to hope for the best. And that you have a great matchup, and then you kind of shoot yourself on the foot Sunday because you take those 3 games away from your possible schedule on Sunday, and then you load the first half of the day, and so by the evening time, you're only left with 2 or 3 games, and unless you happen to hit gold and they happen to be really good matchups, you don't shot your foot in the day for Sunday night as well. The college football's got the ideal situation where they have games starting about noon, 1 o'clock, and there's games starting almost every hour all day long. And no matter what conference you watch, there is a football game that you can rotate to and be able to watch football games. And they were talking about the NCAA tournament. Back in the day, you could only watch whatever one game that CBS put on. And a lot of people were concerned when they went to putting games on True TV and all these other stations that they put it on, whether or not it was going to hurt the ratings. And all it's done is help the ratings, because if you have a game that is a blowout, then you can rotate to another game. Or if you catch wind at the bottom when you're reading the score tracker, oh, shoot, there's 3-4 minutes left and it's a tight game. Let me bounce over to this game. You got that option. But right now, the way the NFL has got things, one, that they got it in markets so you can't flip around, because if you live right now, like such as I do, if you live in the Carolina market, you're only getting the Carolina game. And that's really your only choice. Yeah, sometimes Sundays, if Carolina is a daytime game, you have a second game going on, then that opens up the Thursday or the Sunday afternoon game being something else. If they happen to televise it, your best bet on Sundays at this point is you're hoping it's a Sunday afternoon game, because then you get 2 games, because Fox is done committed to a Sunday game, and then the other channel is committed to a Sunday game. and then you got the Sunday night game with Carolina. But because how they do things with the region and how they spread it out in one game here, one game there, the NFL is really hurting themselves with the viewership and the excitement such as the college football is giving us at this point.
Well, I'm very limited in what I know, but in terms of the TV ratings, I can say one thing. Not so much in view of the ratings, but like you were saying, the matchups. When you have a bad matchup on a given week or a given season, it's generally, and this I read some time back, and this is where I got that knowledge from, that these teams are picked, these matchups are picked 2 and 3 years hence. So if, say, Tennessee has a good season in 3 years ago, whatever, 2013, and they say, okay, we'll put Tennessee on with this team in 3 years. Well, in 3 years, Tennessee might not be good, or the matchup may stink. Where 3 years prior, those two teams were probably, I'm not saying I don't remember, but they could be one of the better teams and one of the better matchups, 3 years ago. That now they're in a bad cycle or a down cycle, and that's what you have. Now you have 2 bad teams playing instead of 2 good teams, or one good team or whatever out of the 2, and that's where the problem arises. That they schedule these games or these matchups for TV so far in advance. Maybe that's the problem. Maybe that's something for the TV networks to look for. And then the other thing, when you were mentioning, cable, CJ, similar to what happened, I know the period this year with NASCAR, is they had so many different, because of the Olympics and different things going on, the presidential debates or whatever, the election, you had 1 week NASCAR might be on CNBC, another week it might be on, NBCSN, and another week might be on NBC regular, the regular NBC station. So, it's finding these games too that's, a problem sometimes. And especially the Thursday night, I know not a lot of people have, I know since they've partnered up with CBS, you can get the Thursday night game on Channel 2 or the CBS station, wherever it is. But, it's finding the games when you have a lot of cable channels involved too. That's another difficulty. If you're not going to keep the program or the games on one specific, network, finding them is a problem. Or, if you do switch off weekly, the stations have got to, or the networks have got to make sure that they, put up enough publicity so that people know that, okay, this week this game is on this channel, or this outlet. And that's problematic too. That all plays into it.
How discouraging was it to watch the team finally deciding to move on a little bit and go ahead and pull Ryan Fitzpatrick up? I know you can't get too much hope up, knowing it's Geno Smith, and as soon as he comes in, he throws an interception.
Well, he started when he was first drafted. I remember there was talk between, believe it or not, him and I think Sanchez was the guy at that time too. When he was drafted, it was like, who was going to start, Mark Sanchez or Geno Smith? Well, we both know what happened with Mark Sanchez, and so that's how Geno Smith got the start. And he did well for maybe his rookie year, and then into the second year he started to have problems, and then that's when they picked up Ryan Fitzpatrick, who had done well with Buffalo. And as I recall, when Fitzpatrick was first there, he caught lightning in a bottle for the I would say maybe a season or so, that he was there, and now, with the new contract and everything else, and whether he was going to sign, that all played into it. Maybe, who knows? But he's gone south, and so that leaves Geno Smith to come back in, and like you said, here's a situation like we were talking about last night. This is why you change quarterbacks. When you have a struggling quarterback, then you move the next quarterback up, even if it happens to be Geno Smith. And this is why I can't see, not to go back on that topic again, but that's why I can't see them switching, or the Cowboys switching to Tony Romo, because the other guy's doing so well, Dak Prescott's doing so well, as opposed to, as you say, what happened with Ryan Fitzpatrick and Geno Smith last night. And there we go. Geno Smith throws an interception, and we're off to the races for Arizona again. So that's just the way the Jets season is gone, I guess.
At least you guys have won a game this year. They were talking about famous Owens. They talk about Jesse Owens and Terrell Owens and Owen Wilson, and then they say 0-6, and talking about the Cleveland Browns. So at least you guys have managed to find a win this season. Cleveland.
I don't know. I mean, you've been around it so long, CJ. What is it? They can't even get lucky for one game. It's unbelievable. I mean, like you say, both teams are struggling this year, but the Jets have been good. I mean, they haven't been to the Super Bowl, granted, but they've had good regular seasons in the past, which is a minor victory, I guess you'd say. But I just don't know, what it is. Now they can change coaches and personnel, and I don't. You talked about this somewhat earlier. What is it that the culture of the team or the people? It can't be the people all the time, because they changed when they came back. They changed the front office too. And they've made changes in a few spots that I know of, just by reading the media. And it just, no matter who, they're like the anti-Patriots. The Patriots, no matter who they plug in, can win. And the Browns, no matter who they put in different spots and different positions, they just can't buy a victory. So I don't understand it myself. It's just the way sports goes, I guess.
Power rankings, ESPN came out, thought this was a kind of interesting. The number one team in their power rankings is the New England Patriots. I don't think anybody can argue the 5-1 Patriots. Only game they lost was the week before. Tom Brady came back. It's kind of been lights out since Tom Brady's come back. Minnesota, number 2, I think that's probably got everybody still in shock, the fact that they're still undefeated. If I'm not mistaken, without looking at the standings, I think they're the only undefeated team at this point. Sitting at 5-0. Seattle, 4-1. Started off kind of rough this year, winning games barely, getting into the final minute or two of games that the opponents they shouldn't have been struggling against. Dallas, 5-1. Like we discussed last night, after all the woes that we watched the Dallas Cowboys go through last year and not able to win games without Tony Romo behind the center, and going into the season knowing you didn't have Tony Romo and watching Des Bryant go down, and yet you're 5-1, and yet you have a rookie quarterback after something like 176 pass attempts has not thrown an interception, and Ezekiel Elliott being the first rookie running back to have, 5 games of 130 yards plus. Very, very deserving of being in the top 5, probably even maybe deserving to be in that third spot versus and being in front of Seattle versus being behind Seattle. But definitely deserving of 5-1 being in the top 5. And the Denver Broncos started off 4-0, and we couldn't stop talking about that offense, that defense. and what they been able to do, and not so impressive so far lately. But that's your top 5. Wrap out your top 10. Atlanta 6, Steelers 7th. I have a feeling we're going to see the Steelers fall with Big Ben and his injuries. Buffalo 8, not quite sold on that. I don't know. There's a couple of the teams that I think Oakland is a better team than Buffalo. Kansas City's been looking better than Buffalo. Buffalo just had a couple good games, and all of a sudden you put them in the top 8. Washington 9th, Green Bay 10th. Other notables, you're a Jets fan, 25th. Those Rams we keep having to talk about, 26th. Kaepernick and the 49ers, 31st. And my beloved Cleveland Browns, the 32 power-ranked team. Chicago, 30th ranked team, not at any fault of Brian Hoyer, as he, in 4 games, has thrown for 1,314 yards, 6 touchdowns. Brian Hoyer is the first Bears quarterback since 1960 to have 300-plus passing yards in 4 straight games. I tell you what, Brian Hoyer is not going to lead any team to the Super Bowl. He's a kind of quarterback that might lead you to the playoffs, but he's definitely showed that he's starter worthy, at least over Jay Cutler in Chicago, and it is definitely given the Bears, something to work with. Now, if the rest of the Bears could get in line and help out Brian Hoyer, you might have an interesting race out there in the NFC North.
Yeah, that surprised me, and again, I misspoke last week when I didn't pick the Bears, which I wouldn't have anyway. But in terms of when I said Jay Cutler and Shannon corrected me, yes, it is Hoyer in there. And again, there's another quarterback. It seems like you've had them all. Your team's had them all, CJ, at one time or another. There's another quarterback that played in Cleveland. He couldn't do anything. So it'd be very interesting to see him back up Tom Brady and see what he did in New England. Probably win a couple of games. But, that's due, again, to the team and the coach, too. And and that'd be interesting to see, like you say, if Chicago straightens out the rest of their team based on having another quarterback in there.
DeMarcus Aldridge reportedly might not finish the season with the Spurs. During an appearance in CSN New England, Jackie McCollum said Aldridge could be dealt at some point this year. For instance, sources were telling me the other day that LaMarcus Aldridge may not even finish the year with the Spurs. The experiment hasn't quite worked out the way they hoped. The entire segment can be viewed below. This isn't the first time Aldridge's name has surfaced in trade rumblings during the offseason. On October 12th, ESPN suggested the Spurs could dangle Aldridge. If he underwhelms, the Spurs will see this team outperforms expectations. I was one of those people that, I don't know, I'm not a Spurs fan. I'm not a hater. Don't get me wrong. But like I tell everybody, unless it's my team, unless it's the Cleveland Cavaliers, or unless it's the Cleveland Browns, or unless it's the Cleveland Indians, or unless it's the Ohio State Buckeyes, I don't like any other team. I'm not one of those that have other favorite teams. I'm not one of those that like other teams. No, there's one team. I have one team, and every other team is against my team. Every other team out there, the other 31 NFL teams, they're out there to take what my Cleveland Browns need to be doing and the championship they need to be winning. There's 29 other teams in the NBA that are trying to accomplish what the Cleveland Cavaliers accomplished last year. So I have no love for any other team out there. But I have a lot of respect for what Popovich has done, the system. The system is awesome. I am a system man. I love what Bill Belichick has done for the New England Patriots, and I love what Popovich has done for San Antonio and how he helped prolong the careers of Ginobili, of Parker, of Tim Duncan. And, honestly, with the move picking up DeMarcus Aldridge last year, honestly thought that they were the team of the West to beat. And for a lot of the year, outside of the run of the Golden State Warriors, they were. And we got late in the season, and they were still in single-digit losses as well, and were just as capable of running the table as any other team if they really wanted to. But their system's designed around a marathon, not a sprint, and they try to do what they can to ensure they get the best seed possible, but conserve their energy and prevent injuries at all costs. And I honestly thought that with the addition of Aldridge, the way Kawhi Leonard is playing, Danny Green, and added Marcus Aldridge, not only did you improve the team, but you've already started to transition into the future. You're already working on putting these players into a system to work together to replace your big three of Parker, Ginobili, and Duncan as they start to make their way out the door, and with setting yourself up for a long future. The first is that the Spurs played Aldridge at center 46% of the time last year, which represented his highest total in 2010. So why not clear? There are just a lot of things that obviously either the Spurs and Aldridge need to sit down and discuss and figure the direction as a player and what role they want him to play, or it's time to do what you got to do to increase the value of Aldridge and worry about moving on and working on the next contract. I mean, Aldridge is 31 and 6 years older than Leonard, and his trade value will never be higher. He can opt out of his contract after the 2017-18 season. So I think, my opinion, going into the season, I think you're testing the waters. I think you're going to see how this team plays without Duncan, how this team stacks up against the Oklahoma City Thunder, how this team stacks up against a couple other the teams out there, the Clippers and whatnot, that have worked on building their team. Portland build their team in the off season. About mid-season, I think that you'll finally see the Spurs start to think about what direction they want to go, and depending on how this season plays out, I think at that point we'll start to hear whether or not we're expecting Aldridge to return, if we're expecting Aldridge to be traded. I don't see anything before the trade deadline in the mid-season around January, but we'll definitely, as the season goes on, we're definitely going to keep an eye on the what word am I looking for here? The team chemistry, and you can kind of read a team. We read LeBron James when he was leaving Cleveland, that game against Boston. You knew that LeBron James was leaving, and I think we'll see the same thing out of LaMarcus Aldridge. If things are going south and there's been enough talks and enough players have caught wind, or he knows that it's time for a change, I think we're going to see that as the season wears on.
I think the word you were looking for, if I'm not mistaken, CJ, is culture. The team culture, and I was thinking about that as you were talking about San Antonio. San Antonio is one of those teams, and you do the comparison in what you just said, the New England Patriots, they don't take lesser performance. I mean, if you're going to play, there are going to be certain games you play better than others because you're human. I'm talking about on an extended basis. If you don't perform for the San Antonio Spurs or the Patriots, you're cut. You're cut, you're traded, and that's when you start seeing things come up in the media. And if you notice, when the regular season starts or the season starts, you very rarely hear about discord in San Antonio, too. How many years Duncan was there? He was like he just went out and did his, went about his business. And there's very little negativity that comes out in the media, even the national basketball media, about San Antonio. They just go about their business, and they're another one of those teams, and there's very few of them, if you notice, that they can get there. They have 2 5-man units. When they make a substitution at times, you'll see all 5 guys come and sit down, and the second unit come in total. And not many teams can do that. Not many teams have a full bench like that. They might have 1 or 2 players deep that they can go, and San Antonio is one of the teams that, because of the way they draft, and we're just talking about the front offices of different teams and how, with the Jets and the Browns, how they can turn negative. And it's the other side of the coin with New England and with San Antonio. It permeates down from the front office to the field, to the players, whatever. And it's just a total, there is a definite difference. And I think what you were looking for in terms of the term was team culture. And they look at a loss or a couple of losses, and they don't really worry about it. Maybe internally they talk about it, but you don't hear them griping about a losing streak because they know they're going to break out of it. They know they're good. It's like the New England Patriots. When they go on the field, they may lose a couple of games in the regular season, but they know they're good and they know they're going to break out of it. And it's just the opposite for the teams that don't win. And that again must permeate down from the top down. But you just, underline what you said about San Antonio. They're one of the teams in basketball, and it happens, I guess, in all sports. If you look at, trying to think of of late, and, Izzo is going to be on at 9:30. The Penguins of recent vintage, and even, certain teams are known to be good in hockey, year after year. So many, back in the day, Montreal, maybe not so much now, but the Canadians were always good. Teams like that, and they're very rarely go into slumps, and that are always there. And, now you have teams in the regular season, too. And Izzo would know more than me, but as far as, like, Washington, I can remember how many, certain teams being good for the regular season and getting into the playoffs, and then whatever they did, obviously, from there is a crapshoot a lot of times, because anything can happen. But you have certain teams that do well on a consistent basis, and those are the teams that you see very little change in terms of the front office or in terms of right from the top. And you look at the 2 coaches you just mentioned, or the 2 teams you just mentioned, San Antonio and Bill Belichick. What's the one, the one common denominator of both guys is that they've been there forever, and they've never really been, certainly they've lost. They're human. Their teams have lost games, but they've never really been on the hot seat. I can't say that I remember the last time I'm, reading that, Bill Belichick's job was in jeopardy, or even Popovich. There's no talk about who's going to take over because those 2 guys are seemingly, they're going to be there until they're told to leave, and when they are told to leave the bench, they're probably going to get kicked upstairs. So they're the type of individual that's going to be with that specific organization probably until they die. And that's the difference. That's two teams right there that really do things the right way.
Tell you what, it just amazes me how you have two coaches that two coaches that have systems that you would think that everybody would adopt these systems. As successful as both of these systems have been, not that they've necessarily resulted in championships every year, but they have resulted in great seasons every year and in the playoffs every year, and even possibly even the NBA Finals and Super Bowl quite often, regardless if they won or lost. It makes you wonder, is their IQ that so much farther ahead of everybody else? I mean, if you see a system that works, wouldn't you adopt it? Wouldn't you find a way to implicate that into your system? Wouldn't you study it every which way you could possibly to make yourself have a system or have that same system to be as successful as Popovich or as successful as Bill Belichick? And it just makes me wonder why we have not seen more coaches adopt this system and try to mock this system, because it just seems that as great as this system is, I'm telling you, if I'm a head coach, I'm trying to find out every which way I can how Bill Belichick runs this system, and pull in coaches as an owner. I'm hiring coaches left and right that are no longer part of that system that could give me all the insight possible.
Well, one of the things, CJ, is too, and again, this goes back to all the parts of the organization working. It's not that I think some of these coaches, it's not that they wouldn't want to run the system. It's that they don't have the personnel to do it. I mean, can you see? Again, I'll look at my team. Can you see Ryan Fitzpatrick running the system like Tom Brady? No. A lot of these teams don't have the personnel, and whether it's because they don't know how to draft or they draft weaker players or whatever, it's just every part of the organization has to work. And there's not, with the two teams we're just talking about, I don't know of a weak part of the system. Even you look at, I was thinking about this as you were talking about San Antonio too. The two football teams that we're talking about, the New England Patriots and the Dallas Cowboys last couple of nights. You have two owners that are known to be front and center, but whereas Jerry Jones is known to be how do you put this? A Budinsky with everything. I want to be in the draft room. I want to be here. I want to be there. I want to be on the sidelines. Robert Kraft is just as noticeable, but you don't see him inserting himself into decisions that Belichick makes. And like you mentioned and we mentioned last night, so many of the Dallas Cowboys decisions, the first thing you think of off the top of your head is, hopefully Jerry Jones won't mess this up. And you don't see that, even though you see Robert Kraft as basically a cheerleader on the sidelines and everything else, you don't see him saying, okay, put the kicker in now or do this or do that. You don't see that with him. He's not going to override a decision that, Bill Belichick makes. And Jerry Jones is not like that. He is he wants to be all-inclusive, even if he doesn't know what he's doing, basically. He would be much better the team would be much better, in my view, if he would just sit back and allow the coaches and the team to do their business and just, be there. Definitely be there. Be a head cheerleader if you want to be. that's all well and good. You know, you're spending the money, and that's fine. But you know, if you get too inclusive into everything when you don't know what you're doing, and in the draft room and all the rest of it, that's where you have the problem.
It was something on that. There wasn't really nothing on that. Not sure if we're going to have Mark Rette of Red Jones Racing join us still at this point. Like I said, I sent an email out with the link, but not 100% sure as they're getting ready for Talladega. And I don't know if they had been contacted and reminded up until this point. So we'll find out here in a few minutes. But have there been any topics or penalties, fines? I know they don't usually come out this early, but some of the bigger things that we know are coming out, we've already usually heard by at this point. Are we looking at any fines, penalties, or headlines coming out of last weekend or leading into Talladega that you know about at this point?
Not as of yet. The interesting thing is the things that are people looking ahead. The first thing they think about is Talladega in terms of who's going to survive in terms of that third. You know, because it's another elimination week after Talladega, after the race in Talladega is over with. And I don't know what to think about Talladega in terms of just right now the four bottom people or the odd men out of those four. You have to think the only way they're going to survive is if like 90% of the field wrecks or something bad happens. You know, even if like Chase Elliott is up front, he's got to hope that that he somehow is away from the big one, and things like that. So no one is really safe. And then this is the week that I really look for somebody that might be lurking in the back of the pack. Sort of like what we saw in the Xfinity race in the rain, where these guys, or even the week that wasn't the Xfinity race exactly, but not the rain race, but the race that Chris Bushler won. That was like rain shortened and all that. I can see maybe somebody that you wouldn't think would win. Okay, in a normal situation, a normal week, because say like 30 cars of the 40 wreck, or 20 cars at least are involved in the big one. That a driver that comes out of nowhere maybe and wins a race, and throws a real monkey wrench into things. As far as the chase, people advancing in the chase, I could see that happening solely because it's Talladega, and that's what makes this week so unpredictable. As opposed to a normal race, and you just hope at this point that anybody that's in the chase, obviously, I guess doesn't have to worry about it but you hate to see like a Martin Truex wreck or something like that. Although they don't have to worry because they're already in. I don't know. It's very strange that way. But I just see probably if a non-chase racer wins this week, or a non-chase racer wins, it'll be because of the big one, and somebody surviving from the back of the pack that was just lurking and not, you know, pressing the issue, and then waiting for the big one, and maybe, you know, just 20 cars leave the field, you know, leave the track, and there's like 10 cars left with about, you know, 20 laps left or something. And I can really see that happening, where somebody like an Eric Amarola or somebody like that might win based on that alone, where all the chase guys end up wrecking or end up being in the wrong place. I mean, it's conceivable that can happen, especially if they're in a pack up front trying to increase their position. That's usually when, you know, up front is usually where the big one happens. So it's conceivable that can happen at Talladega.
We got Mark in the studio. He has joined us tonight. Like I said, I wasn't sure. I know they got a lot of things going on, especially getting ready for Talladega this weekend for the Truck Series. But let's go ahead and get him in the studio. Let's see what's going on over there at Rette Jones Racing. Let's wrap things up at Kansas, and let's look forward to Talladega, not only for the Sprint Cup Series and the Chase, but for Rette Jones Racing as well. So without any further delay, Mark, how you doing tonight?
Oh, not too bad. How you guys doing?
How you doing, Mark?
As we always do before we get this kicked off, let's let you have an opportunity to plug either social media, if it's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Snapchat, whatever you guys have to use. Personal site, team sites, any sponsorships, anything you want to throw out there. That way the listeners out there can keep up with you guys, not only for the rest of this season, but also moving forward.
Definitely need to keep up with us on Rette Jones Racing on excuse me, on Facebook, and then the Twitter stuff. Obviously, we're always updating stuff on Twitter as much as we can. Race by race coverage, you know, every 5, 10, 15 laps, we try to update that stuff during the weekend so people can keep up with us. That's really about it. You know, obviously, getting ready to go to Talladega. We actually just got done on the pull-down rig with the truck here just about 10 minutes ago. So we're going to try and get everything done. Come in tomorrow and cross some T's, dot some I's, and head to Talladega tomorrow afternoon.
How as an owner, how nervous does Talladega make you? Knowing that there's the possibilities of a big one, knowing, you know, what this weekend, because it being a wild card race, could cost a team financially. How nervous do you guys go into this weekend?
Oh, it's a crapshoot. I mean, it's no holds barred. Anything can happen at any given time. You know, you get halfway through the race, 3/4 of the way through the race, you think you're fine, and then all of a sudden, boom, here goes the big one. You know, we were actually running sixth last year, about 3/4 of the way through the race, and we actually had a piece of debris come off one of the trucks in front of us, and about 2 laps later, obviously we ran it over. About 2 laps later, the truck started getting tighter, and then all of a sudden the right front tire blew. So we ran it over. We had some marks underneath the truck. So whatever we ran over was obviously something heavy, piece of steel or something like that. And it was a total loss on the truck. You know, it was like I said, you're riding there in sixth, getting down towards the nitty gritty time, the end of the race, and you feel like everything's going to be okay, and then pow, you know, you run over a piece of debris. So, and that was no one else's doing. It's just, you know, you get, as the trucks, you know, throughout the course of the night or the day, you know, they get damaged. They come in, they put the bare bond on, they put the tape on, they got debris flying, and obviously with the speedway stuff, there's no such thing as a little wreck. So you got a lot of body parts flying around, and you got debris flying around, and at the end of the day, that's what cost us the race, or cost us a racing finish and the truck. So it's you really never want to blink. You really never want to breathe during a speedway race. I don't care if you're driving or if you're sitting on top of the pit box watching it.
How much different is it preparing a truck for a super speedway such as Talladega versus preparing it for a mile-and-a-half track or a 2-mile track like Charlotte? Is there a more preparation for it?
It's not so much more preparation. It's just different preparation. Getting ready to go to the speedways to Daytona and Talladega, you want to slick the truck up as much as you can. And being a truck team where we run maybe 2 or 3 truck races a year, depending on what our schedule was, obviously without running the full-time K&N deal, we don't have any points going into this weekend. So there's, I believe, 38 trucks on the entry list. They start 32, and realistically you have to be, without any points, the best I figure, we need to be top 27 in qualifying, which is hard to do at the end of the day because it is single truck qualifying, 1 lap. You get what you get. So you do spend extra time trying to slick the truck up as much as you can aerodynamically. That extra 1/8 inch of shock travel in the rear of the truck's worth, it might be worth a 1/2 or a 1/10. So you pay a little bit finer detail because it is, the speeds are so high, and it's tenths of a second that you're fighting for qualifying position. And once you get in a race, it's obviously the draft is huge. You can take a 5th to 10th place truck and go and compete for the win because the draft's so big. Getting in the right line at the right time, having the right drafting partner, all that pays a lot of, it all equals out towards the end of the race. So, it's, once they get racing, it's the slickness and the having everything just 100% perfect is a little bit different when they're in the draft, because you can take a mediocre truck and you get the right person pushing you or the right person drafting with you, they can make you look like a superstar.
Now, you guys going with just 1 truck entry this weekend?
Yep, just 1 truck entry. Obviously, Terry, my partner, he loves the speedway racing. He lives for Daytona, Talladega every year, whether it be the ARCA car or the truck. So that's his golf game to say. So we're getting ready to go here. Obviously it's the truck that we actually wrecked last year in the race, and I said a total loss, but realistically the chassis was okay. We had to put 3/4 of the body on it. There were some other things that we had to fix, but completely went through it and built a brand new truck to go down there. So really excited to get on the racetrack Friday and see what we got.
Now, with you guys just going by yourself out there, does he already have somebody in mind that, with Talladega tracks that you kind of need a dancing partner to get around, or would like to have one anyway, someone that you're familiar with, comfortable with, and, kind of in the same agreement, look, we help each other until, we get to the last 10 laps or so, then, it's every man for himself kind of situation. Does he have somebody that he's already worked with, is somebody that he's reached out with, or is it one of those things that you guys wait till he gets to track, see who's got what, and kind of look at somebody comparable in times, and then, see about trying to work with them?
Last year, obviously you want to keep your manufacturers together. Obviously, with us being a Ford, we want to push the BKR trucks and try and help them. They help us, kind of thing. We got hooked up with Brian Keselowski, who drove one of Brad's entries last year. And Terry and Brian had worked together before, and just they raced against each other a lot. They come from the same area, so they they knew each other. They respected each other, and we got hooked up early in the race last year with Brian. And when we wrecked, we were actually right behind them, pushing them all afternoon long. Terry and Johnny Sauter drafted very well together. So you kind of remember Everyone will remember from, we didn't race Daytona, but everyone will remember from Daytona who was able to help them, who was able to hurt them. And then there's sometimes one truck in front of the other, it might not, the truck following might not suck up to one truck compared to, might really suck up to another one. So you got to learn that early in the race and figure out who's going to be with you, who's going to help you, and at the end of the day, rely on your spotters, the spotters to work together with the people that you're around, and, try and be calm and cool early in the beginning of the race, get your dancing partners, figure out who those people are going to be, and then, just kind of, the race kind of, it's really exciting at first and kind of levels out a little bit and then ramps back up again, and you want to be around your best partner or the best person that you've been around all day long and try and help each other out. So, there's a couple of them that Terry really likes drafting with that we've made some friendships in past, whether it be ARCA or truck racing, and you just try and hook up with those guys and do the best you can.
Mark, I have a question because CJ and I were mentioning this last night, and I said I was going to ask it of you if it came on either Tuesday or Wednesday night. There's talk yesterday morning, I read about it, of NASCAR deciding what they're going to do about the Cup guys performing in Xfinity. And I was wondering if, there's more Xfinity openings and you as a developmental team, does that open more doors for your guys to possibly advance either from the truck to Xfinity or, I guess not KLM because that would be 2 steps up. But does it open more doors for you as an owner to get your guys up into the other upper divisions?
I feel that it will over time. Obviously, if you go back a couple weeks ago, you had the Xfinity race right before the Cup race. So, and you saw some drivers kind of bow out of their Xfinity rides because they were in the Chase and they were concentrating on the Chase. So I think you'll see some of that. And I don't know. I think about it both ways. Yes, it does open opportunities and does open doors for non-Cup drivers or non-full-time Cup drivers. But I also, it's tough and it rarely happens. But if you can go beat Kyle Busch on a Saturday afternoon and you're a regular Xfinity driver, or I look at it like you beat the best. You beat that guy. Whether it be Brad Keselowski or Logano or Kyle, because Kyle runs so many Xfinity races. They get to race with these guys at a lower level. And they're the best. There's a reason that they strap into those things on Sunday afternoon. So I'm kind of torn both ways because, if I thought I was the next hot shoe, the Eric Joneses or the Chase Elliott's, the guys trying to make their name and bust their way into the upper series, you go out and beat Kyle Busch on a Saturday afternoon, people are going to pay attention. You're gonna pave your way to get there.
Right.
So.
And the other question I had is you just answered it because CJ asked it about when you're like the one truck situation and you don't have a teammate, what do you do? But you answered that with the manufacturer and the different friends you make, as it were. With the different teams. So that was my second question. With how you do in a drafting situation like that.
With you having Dominique as one of your drivers, and we're coming up on the 13th year of the Drive for Diversity, how big is this program been for NASCAR? How much in the right steps did NASCAR go with formulating this program to make this sport be as diverse as it's becoming?
I mean, it's come leaps and bounds. over the years, you look at some of the drivers that come up through the diversity program, Kyle Larson, Bubba Wallace, there's a lot of those guys that came up through that program that have, they've made it, they've got there. Daniel Suarez was another one that was a diversity driver through the Revolution Racing organization where they do the driver diversity deal. There's been some women that came along and some of them haven't really run the best. So as far as a woman, and where Dominique's at is I really feel she's really something special. She really has, she really has the talent and the ability to do this and to do it at a higher level, and she learns so quick, and that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest thing that I've noticed all year long is you show her something one time, you don't have to repeat yourself. It's done. It's logged in the information deal. So, I feel like NASCAR's done a very good job. Obviously, they're holding their diversity programming at New Smyrna Beach the last couple of days here, doing some testing with some different forms of drivers throughout the diversity program. And they'll go and they'll evaluate, and then they'll I don't know how many will be return drivers from last year or how many will be new drivers coming into the series, but they seem to put them through a rigorous, classroom courses, some testing on the racetrack, off the racetrack media stuff. So they seem to do a really good job, and they've, like I said, they've paved the way for some pretty big stars that are in our upper series right now.
I got an opportunity to ask this question to two people, and I'm dying to ask you because you expressed your fanship for Martin Truex. We come down to we come down to the final 10 laps restart Homestead. You got Martin Truex, you got Kevin Harvick on the front row. Who do you have?
That's tough. I mean, I'm not by any means I'm not a Kevin Harvick fan, but when it's on the line, Harvick seems to step up. He's got that ability. He can take a third, fourth, fifth place car and he can win with it, and we've seen it numerous times. I'm screaming and yelling at the TV, or if I'm at the racetrack live, I'm screaming and yelling for that 78 all day long. But man, I don't know. I definitely I don't know which way I'd turn on that one. They would definitely I think it would be a great race, but it would definitely come down to whose car is better at that point, because I believe those two guys are two of the best in the business. And we've seen them across the years when they go to step up, when it's on the line, that they shine. So, I mean, Harvick's been the one that's closed a lot of races at the end, and he's already been there. He's done that. He's got it done. So, as much as I would be cheering for Martin, it'd definitely be a nail biter.
I tell you what, is dominating. We have seen Martin Truex in his wins, and knowing what Kevin Harvick is like with his back in the corner. If it came down to them two, and it was for all the marbles and 10 laps left at Miami, I tell you what, it would be. I don't think there would be a butt in the seat anywhere at house, at a sports bar, and sure, at Homestead, as those two have proven to be the drivers, in my opinion, to beat so far in this chase. Are we surprised at all that we have not seen any Joe Gibbs Racing guys in victory lane? There's a five race run without a win. This is their second longest streak of the year. The other one was only 6. They had that win right before the chase. That they seem to have gotten their momentum back. Are we surprised that we're 5 races in and we've not had an actual Joe Gibbs Racing driver in victory lane?
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I am kind of surprised by that. But it's tough. It's I think that 78. You pretty much call that a Joe Gibbs team. Obviously, it's housed in a different part of the country, but at the end of the day, they're getting the resources, the same terminology, same information across all of them. So you kind of look at it as a Gibbs team, with the affiliation, but they definitely I think they need to step up. Ken's has been good. Every one of them has been good, but no one's been able to seal the deal, I guess to say. So I definitely, obviously this weekend with being the crapshoot that it is and how it all is going to unravel, I think they got, obviously have as good a chance as anybody, but I'd watch out for Carl Edwards this weekend. I really would. He's a very good plate racer, and Kenseth is too. So I feel like they've got a very good shot this weekend, and having the three teams plus adding Martin, as a satellite organization with the support from Gibbs. That's four teams that can work together. That's four cars that can, they can help each other all day long. And like you need that dancing partner. You need that person that's going to push you. And there's a lot on the line. There's they're all, I guess, they're all kind of going for the same part of real estate. They all know, how big the championship is. So. It's going to be really interesting. It's going to be it's going to be a nail biter. Every chase race has been a nail biter this year. You're glued to the seat. You're glued to the TV set. Every chase race, and it's like in NASCAR actually, they really hit one out of the park with this because rarely, in the last 7-8 weeks or 6 weeks. You're not taking that NASCAR nap halfway through the race. You're glued to the TV the whole race, waiting to see what happens and waiting to see what kind of drama happens throughout the course of the race.
Well, Mark, one of the things that I brought up, and I was wondering what you felt about it too, as we were talking about the two guys, Harvick and Martin Truex. Last night I was talking to CJ about the fact that the two of them, their cars are basically the same, in terms of speed and driver ability. They're both, at the top of their game this year. But what blows each one of them back, and last week you could say it also, is the pit stops. Harvick with his well-documented problem with his crew in the past this year, and Martin with something with his gas tank or whatever, halfway through the race, and I forget which commentator first brought it up, all of a sudden it came into the radio, I guess, that his 10 gallons lower, and they after that they kept filling the gas tank, every time they went into the pits, and they were wondering if he was going to have enough gas to finish. But that again was a pit stop issue.
Yeah, it's no different. The magnifying glass is getting thicker and thicker, and it's burning deeper and deeper every race in this chase. From the pit stops to the penalties of jumping too soon over the wall to not, individuals not getting their job done. When it's crunch time, and it's a team sport. It's all 6 of those guys going over the wall, and the crew chief making the right call, and the spotter, the crew chief clearing the driver out of the box after the stop, the spotter taking over from there. So there's so much that goes on with each individual pit stop, and now that it's in the chase, it's like like I said, the magnifying glass is burning hard, and it's there. You know what I mean? So any little thing that happens is going to be it's going to be a big thing. It's going to be, might have got overseen or overlooked during the course of the year, but now that you have that spotlight on those certain individuals, it's getting bigger. It's getting better. And, you know, you gotta keep up with your equipment. You gotta have, you know, there's so much that goes on during a pit stop that it's, you know, stuff's breaking and things, you know, jobs aren't getting done. So it's interesting to say the least. And I feel like there's going to be a lot more of it going on in the next weeks to come, or you'll be aware of it. You'll be aware of it more because of all the hype behind it.
Right, as we get closer to the end of it.
Now, coming out of Kansas, I want to get your thoughts. What did you take away from Kansas, and what should the fans look or expect to see in Talladega?
I mean, you're taking out of Kansas, obviously, you know, Kevin made a statement. Martin wasn't the greatest. You know, they had their issues throughout the course of the day and rebounded. Some of the other drivers, you know, they were hit or miss throughout the course of the day. But going into Talladega, I mean, anything can happen. I mean, it is, you know, it's where you get that surprise guy that, you know, nothing against him, but you get the David Reagan or, you know, one of those guys that really shines at the end of the race because they, you know, they're going for broke. I mean, they're doing everything they can and they get in the right position because, you know, you have an altercation at the front of the field or something like that, puts them right in position to sneak in there and get them one. So going in Talladega, I can't. I don't have any picks by any means. It's too crazy. I mean, anything can happen, will happen. You know, and it's gritty. You know, nose to tail, pushing as hard as you can, racing, and at the high speeds that they run, it doesn't. You know, you blink and you're in trouble. So it'll be interesting. I'm sure, like I said, you won't take the normal NASCAR nap, you know, and throughout the course of a long race to where it kind of just gets strung out and everyone's just trying to get to the end of the race. And sometimes the speedway race will definitely bring that out because, you know, like I said, you drop the green flag and they'll race really hard for 10, 15, 20 laps, and everyone kind of just settles down and log of laps. I don't think that's necessarily the case going into this weekend, you know, with the chase, with how close everything is. I think everyone's going to be it's going to be nail-biting all race long. And that's what, you know, when the pressure's on, that's when certain individuals or certain things will happen. And, you know, you could be just riding there, hanging out, and then by the end, you know, someone else's wrongdoing, you know, might ruin your race. So the speedway races, being in the chase, definitely always, you know, you can't predict it. You just don't know what's going to happen.
I know you're talking about Carl Edwards and even Kansas. I'm not sure if that's your exact prediction. I'm going with. I've been very vocal with this one. I'm going with Keselowski, the man that was in his back in the corner last year, pulled it out at Talladega, won 2 restrictor plates races this year to include Talladega. I think that Brad Keselowski finds his way back into the chase with the win, but at the cost of his teammates, who I think is a little too far behind the rest of the guys, and will get the bump. Who do you think, if anybody that's not in the bubble right now, do you think any of them will make the jump into that top 8, and if so, at what cost? Or do you think that the 8 that we have right now is the 8 we're going to have after Talladega?
You know, I agree with you with Brad. You know, Brad's a very good restrictor plate racer, and you know, Brad's very, you know, you look at the past, and when pressure's on Brad shines. You know, he's got the finishes. You know, I think the 8 that are there, I mean, it's gritty. It's nail biting, to say the least. I think you know, it just all depends on when the big one happens and who's there to get taken up by it. You know, so Brad's just a very, very, very smart race car driver, and he's very good at putting himself in the right positions, thinking forward and thinking about, he might be thinking a lap 100 on lap 10. He's very methodical in his drafting stuff. So I kind of agree with you a little bit there. I definitely think he's going to be one of the ones to beat. But like I said, it's going to be nail biting for sure.
I had made the point earlier that if it's a non-chase racer that wins, sort of like what you said, or exactly what you said, where someone is hanging out in like position 30 or something, and 20 cars get taken out in the big one, and here comes someone like Eric Amarola or somebody for the win. I could see that happening as well.
Yeah, I think you can't take anything away from Eric either. He's if you look at the end of their restrictor plate races, 9 times 10 Eric's up there, competing inside the top 10. So I feel like Eric's a very good restrictor plate racer who knows how to play the chess game throughout the day and knows how to position himself to be there at the end. Usually I've had it work against me more times than it's helped me, but you'll have the couple drivers that are in very good equipment and very capable of running, top 3, 4, 5 throughout the day. You'll have them hanging out back in 35th or 36th or 40th, back there just waiting to, logging the laps, waiting for the big one, waiting for someone to mess up to try to be there at the end. I've tried that before, just, kind of hanging in the back. And, at the end of the day, I've never had any luck trying to play that game, but some of them do. More times than none, I've let's go race. Let's just go for it, all out. That's the way we're looking towards the truck race this weekend is, if we can go forward, we're going forward. We're not going to hang out around the back and get caught up in someone else's misfortune.
Mm-hmm.
Mark, as always, I got to thank you for giving us your time tonight. Definitely looking forward to seeing you guys out there at Talladega this weekend. Hopefully you guys put that RJR machine out front and be victorious. Definitely be pulling for you guys. Hopefully next Tuesday we have a lot of great things to talk about. But definitely want to wish you guys the best of luck, safe travels as you guys get to Talladega. And I hope you enjoy the rest of your evening, and I hope this week goes smooth for you guys.
All right, man. I appreciate it, guys. And like I said, it's going to be a long, grueling weekend. And we'll just do the best we can and see what we got at the end. And I guarantee you that you will hear about the party if Terry is lucky enough to put that thing in victory lane, being a Canadian. They might not be able to race on Sunday. I can see where that would be the biggest party ever at the racetrack, and I don't know if we'd be able to get him out of the car afterwards. He'd probably be burning donuts and knocking fenders off the truck and all that other stuff. So, it would be one big party, and so we'll see what happens. We'll give it our best shot and try and put him in a position at the end of the race to do the best he can and have fun.
Good luck, Mark.
All right, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a great night. That was Mark Rette of Red Jones Racing. Make sure you guys pull for those guys out there at Talladega this weekend. Very excited about seeing how they finish and what war stories we get to hear from Talladega come next Tuesday night. So make sure you guys tune in next Tuesday night, number one night here on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. Find out how things went and kind of get the insight of what it's like to get into Talladega, race your way into Talladega, and what it was like to be out there on the track. We got one more guest joining us. We got our very own NHL expert, Izzo. We're going to get him in the studio, talk to NHL. He said it was like Christmas, kid at Christmas last week, so I can imagine some of the presents have been open, not all of them. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. We got a lot of games to go. But I know that my Twitter feed, my Facebook Messenger, and my timeline have been filled with a bunch of interesting things in the NHL. And I guarantee if you wrapped Izzo up in a big box, a big present like it was Christmas, he would have jumped out like a jack-in-the-box and yelled. That's the kind of excitement that Izzo brings when it comes to NHL. So let's get him on the show, and let's see what's going on this week, and let's get in. Let's start tackling this 2016 season. Izzo, how you doing tonight?
I am. You know what, Jay? Words can't express how happy I am right now. I'm back in my favorite part of the year. Halloween's coming, hockey's going. It's just been a blast so far.
I can only imagine. As you know, I'm starting to get that same excitement. I don't have the same excitement towards the NBA, but I have the same excitement going into this season, knowing that almost all the players are returning to the championship team of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Plus, they've added some key pieces. Very excited this year going in to see if we can repeat. So I kind of got an idea. And also the Cleveland Indians, one game from the World Series. I mean, this is a great time to be a Cleveland fan, period, other than those whatever Cleveland Browns of mine. But but I kind of can grasp what you're feeling. Before you jump into this, let them know where they can follow you on Twitter, and let's tackle this.
Hey, you can follow me at 110puckhead there on Twitter. Now that the season's going, my Twitter feed has just been blowing up, and I've been tweeting left and right. Let me know what you're thinking. We got a lot of same faces in some new places. I think it's 16 to be exact. We got some excellent games going on right now. Follow me at 110puckhead, and don't forget to follow our webpage and see what I have to offer for what I'm seeing in the NHL right now. But just to get things kind of kicked off with 8:45, 8 minutes left in the third, the Devils are up 2-1 on the Ducks. We got a good game in the dying end of the third period with the Sharks and the Islanders, tie at 2. With 5 minutes left in the third, we got the Capitals up on top of the Avalanche, 3-0. Penguins are down 2-0 to Montreal, in Montreal at the end of the second right now. Also at the end of the second, Senators are up 3-1 on the Coyotes. In the early part of the third, Lightning are up on Florida 2-1. In the waning minutes of the second period, we got the Predators tie with the Dallas Stars 1-1. About halfway through the second period, a little more than halfway over into the second period, the Wild are up 3-1 on the Kings. The Blackhawks are up 3-0 on the Flyers at the end of the first. Also at the end coming towards the end of the first, the Flames are down 1-0 to the Sabres, which is an astonishing thing despite what the Sabres are going through right now. And also coming to the end of the first, the Oilers are up on our Carolina Hurricanes 2-0 right now. And then we have one later game tonight, which is Vancouver and St. Louis. Both of these teams are undefeated, so this is going to be a pretty good game to watch. I'm going to be sticking up late to watch it. So that's what's going on. That's what's on the plate for tonight. And like I said, follow me at 110puckhead and let's talk some hockey.
Opening night. It was the number one draft pick. Is that what it was?
Yes.
What kind of historic night did he have? I know that you kept messaging me, but I don't fully grasp the historic moment behind this. What did he accomplish that nobody else has accomplished?
Austin Matthews, who's the number one overall pick to the Toronto Maple Leafs, and that franchise that is, rebuilding right now with Lou Lamoriello as the GM, Brendan Shanahan in the front office, and Mike Babcock, the bench boss right now. That was a pretty good game. The Oilers and the Leafs, which is a good Canadian battle between two historic rivals, up in Canada and everything. And the debut of Austin Matthews. I tell you what, there were a few games on that night, but I really wanted to see what these two teams could do. you had the last year's number 1 overall pick, Connor McDavid, going up against this year's number 1 overall pick, Austin Matthews. And Matthews just wasted no time, scoring 4 goals in that game, being the only rookie in the modern era of the NHL to do that has never been done. There have been 3 other guys that have scored 3 goals on their NHL debut, but no one has ever hit 4 points in their day, or 4 goals in their debut. The closest significant comparison to this would be Joe Malone of the Montreal Canadiens and Harry Hyland of the Montreal Wanderers. Share the record of 5 goals in their first NHL game on December 19th, 1917. This was on the first night of the NHL. So technically, these guys weren't rookies, but they played in the the NHA, which was the National Hockey Association. This was before the NHL was conceived, really. So he scored the first 3 goals. He had 2 goals in the first period. Had 2 more in the second and everything. And then the Toronto Maple Leafs curse happened. They ended up losing that game 5-4 against the Oilers. But we've seen the great ones: Howe, Gretzky, Lemieux, Forsberg, Bure. None of these guys have ever scored 4 goals in their debut. I mean, the only other significant comparison would be Mario Lemieux, who scored on his first shot of his first shift of his first game of his NHL career. You could maybe draw comparisons to that, but it's certainly not 4 goals. Especially in 1 game and everything like that. And then you had the next night where Brad Marchand scored 5 points in a game against your Columbus Blue Jackets. So, 1 goal, 4 assists for Marchand was kind of overshadowed, or tried to overshadow what Austin Matthews did. But this kid's the real deal, Jay. I don't think we're going to, he's probably going to be one of the all-time greats, especially with the way he plays. He plays fast. He can play physical. He's got a big, strong body, and his release for his shot is just, it's unnatural. I can only compare him to guys like Forsberg, maybe Solani, guys like that who have a quick release, Ovechkin. So, he definitely set the bar high for himself, with his parents at that first game against the Oilers. It was just something truly magical and special. And I tell you what, I'm not a Leafs fan. I don't really look highly of the Canadian teams just because of the U.S.-Canadian rival. I've had my fair share of encounters with Canadian teams playing in my youth days and everything like that. I know my brother has too, and we kind of despise Canadian teams, especially when we play against them. But for you not to, if someone didn't enjoy this game, even if you are a hockey fan, if you couldn't grasp the historical significance of this, then you're not really a true hockey fan to me. This kid put in a lot of work, did fairly well in the World Cup of hockey and everything. Yeah, I did very well playing in the elite leagues over in Europe and everything like that. For a kid to come out of Scottsdale, Arizona, which is, come on, let's be real. It's a desert. There's no ice there. Let's be real. It's it kind of throws you for a loop and everything. But to see him to really, come out of the gate storming like that, it's just, I don't think we're going to see anything like that for a very, very, very long time, Jay.
It's always great to start off the season, or really any part of the season, but even to start off the season and have historic stuff happen like this, because all it does is give you expectations and kind of a foundation on how the season's going to go. And when you start off the season with stuff like this, all the season can do is go up and up from this point. And it's definitely the way that you want to get the season started off.
Yeah, definitely. And this is the kind of kid that you can build a franchise around. This is like building a franchise around your star quarterback that you draft, or when LeBron came in the league. This is that type of guy you can build a franchise around and really get yourself back into being a relevant playoff contender, Stanley Cup contender. So, there's still a lot of work to be done with this team, but they're certainly moving in the right direction, especially with the Hall of Fame talent that they have, behind the bench, in the front office and everything like that. Lou Lamoriello has, countless times where he's built, something from nothing. So, this could be, a 1, 2 year, 3 year, maybe build and everything to try and get the right players to fit around him and more importantly, fit in the system where the team can come together and really create something special. So, I'm only looking for better things for, for the Maple Leafs. Hopefully they won't be as disparable as they have been in the past. In recent years and everything. I can compare it to when the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were so bad. You would see fans with paper bags over their heads. You've gotten that in Toronto before. Well, I've seen fans throw jerseys on the ice because they were sick of this team. But now they have something. They can see there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and they're striving to get there. And that's the most important thing, because Toronto, being one of the original teams in the conception of the NHL, they're just too prideful, historic, to not really be a competitor on the ice every night, Jay.
Now, was there anybody else out of this year's draft that has stepped up so far in their roles or on their team so far in the first few games, like Matthews did?
Yeah, there's been a couple. Patrick Lane, who was drafted by the Jets, he's netted his first NHL goal. Puljujärvi has done very well, being the number 3 pick, number 4 pick. He's netted a few points so far. So I'm seeing a lot of these rookies. This being one of the more skillful drafts that we've had in recent memory, to really, come in and make a big impact for their team and everything like that. So, I'm liking what I'm seeing so far. David Pastrnak from Boston, who was drafted by Boston this past year, who played in Boston University or Boston College. I can't remember off the top of my head. It was one of those two. He's netted a few points for the Bruins. And everything like that. So everything I'm seeing from these rookies right now, it's been a while since I've seen, the top picks of a draft really kind of perform the way they have and everything like that. So, we got some exciting. I think we have some exciting hockey this year, especially with the way the schedule is, with a lot of teams playing back to back. These kids are going to get a lot of ice time. Especially on the veteran, more experienced teams that have, an aged roster a little bit. So, the Oilers have already played 3-4 games so far. Pittsburgh's played 3 games so far. And just to look at it, the Columbus Blue Jackets don't play until Friday, and their last game was, I do believe, this past Saturday or Friday. So, we're going to see a lot of back-to-back games. We're going to see some big gaps, which will allow players to get rested up and everything like that for the march of the long season. But overall, I think this is a good thing for this draft class. With the top studs that have come out for this year, and I'm really looking forward to really seeing more. So, we're going to be in for a pretty impressive show. So. We're going to see the Matthews and the McDavids, and we're going to see all these guys, the Lanes, the Puljujärvis, and everything like that. We're going to see them make a pretty big impact for their clubs, Jay.
Any rule changes that happened in the off season that we have seen so far play a role in any of the games?
None so far. There haven't been any big rule changes. Only in the minor leagues have we seen big rule changes, and that entails with the fighting. in the game and everything like that. But, you know, we haven't really seen too many big rule changes for this year and everything like that. We have tonight I did see a face-off penalty where Nick Bonino of the Penguins used his hand to move the puck on the face-off, which is something which was incepted last year and everything like that. So we didn't really see too much of that. We got that one tonight. I don't really expect to see – I would expect to see rule changes maybe coming next year, more dealing with the review and possibly fighting and everything like that. But fighting in the NHL is kind of on the down right now. You know, we're seeing more and more fighting in the minor leagues, in the ECHL, the AHL, the WHL, and everything like that. So we haven't seen a lot of – there haven't been any rule changes that have been significant at all to this point. But they normally don't really talk about that during the season. They kind of wait for that in the off-season meetings and everything like that. So, no, we haven't seen any big rule changes and everything like that. And I think with what they have right now is pretty exceptional. And I think they're going to, kind of sit back and intake all this information and see where they can go from there. So, I imagine that reviews will be something that will be brought up a little bit more and possibly fighting. But, other than that, there hasn't really been anything significant, Jay.
What other, we got about 9 minutes, what other things have you noticed so far to kick off the season that you've liked, trends or anything that you have noticed so far in this first week of hockey that you hope continues on and things you're wanting to look forward to?
Well, what I'm going to look forward to is seeing how the Blackhawks rookies really kind of take to their new roles. The Blackhawks right now are kind of struggling on their defensive end and everything like that. I do believe they have somewhere of 7 to 8 rookies in their lineup right now, especially on the wings and on the defense and everything. If their defensive woes keep up on the steady downplay, nothing against Crawford. Crawford's been trying to keep them in games and everything, but we might see the Blackhawks try and make a move to try and bolster their offense or maybe their defense. I think they should go defensively, to try and fix their problems right now. Their penalty kill is absolutely disgraceful, which is, you can't win games if you're constantly shorthanded. So there's been a lot of penalties. Dumb penalties by the young Blackhawks and everything like that, and even by some of the veterans and everything. So hopefully they can get it turned around. It's still fairly early in the season. We're only 2-3 games into the season, so there's plenty of time to address that issue. Also, watching the Edmonton Oilers play, with what they got in Connor McDavid, then them trading away Taylor Hall, Nail Yakupov. Them having Jordan Eberle, bringing in Milan Lucic, trading for Adam Larson, which is where, that's where the Taylor Hall trade comes in. Taylor Hall going to the Devils and Larson going to the Oilers, excuse me. I'm liking what I'm seeing. They've been scoring they've been scoring plenty of goals. Like I said, they beat the Leafs on the first night 5-0. They put up 4 or 5 points consistently so far throughout the beginning of the season and everything. And I'd like to see them try and hold that up. If they can keep this kind of output up, they can really make a big, push in the Western Conference and in their division and everything like that. That division's wide open right now because Jonathan Quick of the Kings is hurt 3 to 4 months with a very, very bad groin injury, which is something you do not want your starting goaltender to have. So that's going to really break open a lot of doors for some teams, especially for a team like the Oilers, who have skill, who have veteran presence and everything like that, and have playoff experience. So this is something that, is going to be interesting to watch as the first couple months of the season play out, Jay.
I know it's early. I know we've only seen teams play 2-3 games, but having an opportunity in this first few games to see these units out there and see the chemistry and see how well that they drafted or did free agency. Is there any team so far that you've seen that you sat there and thought to yourself, damn, this team right here, this is a scary storm brewing together, kind of like we saw with the Golden State Warriors and the NBA and the team they assembled, and watching Cleveland put their team together, a team that maybe will have a run like we saw Washington had last year or Florida had last year, or even Montreal, I think, at some point was having a great season, if I remember correctly, before they fell off. Is there any team that you, after the first 3-4 games that you got in the see, kind of have you sitting there thinking, yes, if this all continues to come together, this is going to be a scary-ass team?
Yeah, there's a couple of them. One being the Tampa Bay Lightning, who really haven't altered their roster at all. Still have the key guys that they've had for the past couple seasons. Pittsburgh comes to mind. They're pretty much returning their whole starting lineup minus Ben Lovejoy, who signed as a free agent with the Devils, I do believe. The New York Rangers have made some pretty interesting moves and everything, trying to make their roster younger and faster. With Zibanejad coming over, Chris Kreider still being young, JT Miller still being young, them signing Jimmy Vesey, and still having one of the greater goaltenders in the league right now, in Henrik Lundqvist, and the scoring capability of Rick Nash. This team could be very dangerous. I've been watching them play here and there. They've been moving the puck pretty well, and their speed has tremendously been increased, over a season and everything like that. The St. Louis Blues are another team I'm really looking forward to. They have a lot of young talent right now, Jay. If you're in the St. Louis area, if anybody's a St. Louis Blues fan, you got to be one happy, fan of the St. Louis Blues. I mean, you got, Vladimir Tarasenko, Colton Parayko. You've traded for Neil Yakupov. You still have Steen and all these guys. They were pretty impressive on opening night, beating the Blackhawks. And I think if Jake Allen, who is, now who has, the confidence of being the number one goaltender since they traded Brian Elliott away to the Flames, St. Louis is going to be that. I think is going to be that team in the Central Division that can really run away with it. And if they run away with it and get it home ice, it's hard to win in St. Louis. It's very hard to win in St. Louis. Ken Hitchcock is definitely a Hall of Fame coach. He's going to retire at the end of the year. This might be the year of the Blues right now, Jay. So they haven't been to the Cup in decades, and I think this will really solidify Ken Hitchcock's coaching career as a whole. So I'm really paying attention to the Blues this season. You also got to look at what the Predators are going to do with PK Subban being traded to the Nashville Predators. They still pretty much have their roster intact and everything. There were a lot of teams that really, a few teams that really only kept their rosters intact from last year. So, there's a bunch of teams that you got to keep your eye on, especially within the first couple of months, because this is where you get, your advantage. If you can string together 2, 3, 4, wins at a time, you're going to be looking pretty comfortable come playoff time, Jay.
One final question. As we sit here, and I don't know how much you know of next week's schedule between now and next Tuesday, but of what you know of the schedule next week, if there's a game I need to sit down in front of the TV and make sure that I catch, what game is it?
Oh man, it's we're going to see a lot of good games, coming next week. There's only 2 games tomorrow: Red Wings and Rangers, Maple Leafs and Jets. That's not something that really sticks out of my mind. Really, I'm really looking forward to seeing teams that are celebrating anniversaries. The teams that were the second expansion in 1967. So, we got, the Kings are celebrating their 50th anniversary. The Penguins are celebrating their 50th anniversary. The Flyers are celebrating their 50th anniversary. The Blues are celebrating their 50th anniversary and everything like that. You know, there's always going to be games going on, you know, without really, you know, really trying to watch. You know, we've had a couple of good ones so far, and everything like that. You know, I'm like I said, I'm really looking forward to watching, you know, most of the rookies, you know, for the Leafs, for the Jets, and everything like that. You know, even watching the young teams, like, you know, like Columbus and everything like that, who are 0-2 right now, but, you know, they're only 2 games into the season, and they've been relatively close games. I've been pretty impressed with what they've been doing as a young core and everything like that. So, you know, we're gonna have a lot of good games. You know, one that comes off the top of my mind, Thursday, we're gonna get a Stanley Cup. We're gonna get a Stanley Cup game coming back with the Sharks playing the Penguins and everything like that. I do believe that game might be in Pittsburgh. I am not entirely too sure on that one right now. But we're going to get a rematch of the Stanley Cup Thursday at 6 o'clock. Well, I think it's 6 o'clock here for me since I'm an hour behind you guys. But I'm really looking forward to seeing that game again. You know, we got Pavelski, Thornton, and Marlowe, and Couture, and Jones and everything going up against the Penguins again. And both of these teams are pretty much still the same. So I'm really looking forward to Thursday night's game against Pittsburgh and Chicago. You know, we're going to have a pretty good matchup Thursday, Washington versus Florida. That's going to be a pretty good game. We got our Carolina Hurricanes going against the Flames. Both these teams are winless right now, but, you know, Carolina's made it to overtime twice. So, you know, they're sitting on 2 points right now. I'd like to see them get a little bit better and everything like that. You know, the Islanders are doing pretty well for Mike. You know, they play Friday against the Coyotes. That's going to be a pretty good game to watch. 2 young teams battling out, East and West teams and everything like that. You know, Friday, the Columbus Blue Jackets take on the Blackhawks. That'll be a pretty interesting game, especially with how bad the Blackhawks have been playing as of recently. So, you know, they're sitting at 1-2, and Columbus is sitting at 0-2. So, I'm really looking. I'm kind of calling the. I'm going to go and say that the Jackets, are going to probably maybe squeak this one out. It'd be nice to see. You know, so no matter what, there's always games that I'll be highlighting throughout the season and throughout the week that, you know, I think everybody should probably pay attention to watch, because it's going to be good entertainment, good hockey, and just, you know, the best way to drink a beer, Jay.
Oh, goodness. I can't wait to sit down here next Tuesday and listen to you talk about the next week. I can only imagine what stories you're going to have for us and what's going to be going on by next Tuesday. Izzo, enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the rest of the hockey for tonight, and I'm definitely going to. I did have one more question. Are they having Wednesday? It was Wednesday, right? Wednesday rivals again this year?
Yes, they are still doing Wednesday night rivalry. I've actually been a little surprised about how frequent they've been doing games so far early on in the season with the NFL going on. But after doing some research and everything, you know, ratings for the NFL, you know, for watching it on TV have been quite on the down. Have been down for a little while, and I think NBC is really trying to push hockey to try and boost ratings for hockey. So I think this is why I've been seeing so many games on NBC Sports Network and everything like that. So, you know, Wednesday night rivalry is still going on. It's still going to keep going on, and they're going to have some pretty good games throughout the season and everything like that. So, you know, Wednesday night rivalry this week is going to be the Red Wings against the Rangers. This should be a pretty good battle. 2 original, you know, NHL teams battling it out and everything like that. This one will be on NBC Sports at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. So I'm really looking forward to that one. You know, but yes, Wednesday night rivalry is still going on. It's still going to keep going on, and I think the people at NBC are doing a very good job at really pinning matchups on Wednesday night, for that midweek sports fix, really, the day before Thursday night football and really before the college football season goes off and everything like that. So, it's a good time to be a sports fan, like you said, in Ohio. I grew up watching the Indians and everything like that. I grew up watching the Buckeyes and everything like that. Fun fact, the other day, this is just throwing this out there. I kind of forgot to mention this last week, but there was an interview with Urban Meyer, the Buckeyes coach, and they asked him who were his influences as coaches and everything, and he named off a few names, but one kind of struck a nerve with me because he said Carmen Izzo, which is my grandfather, who actually went to the same high school as Urban Meyer, coached football there. My grandfather also played football with Don Shula, so this was kind of like a surreal moment for me. Urban Meyer, who we all know is from Ohio, who is an Ohio guy, loves Ohio State and is doing pretty well. And when my dad showed me this interview, I kind of had to laugh a little bit. It was kind of cool to hear my grandfather's name being named as an influence to Urban Meyer. So, I'm pretty happy for the Tribe. I'm hoping the Tribe can do it. It's been a long time. I was a little kid the last time they went this deep in the playoffs, Jay. I mean, man, it's kind of cool. The days of Kenny Lofton and Carlos Baerga and a young Manny Ramirez and everything. So, I'm kind of excited, and my dad's a Cleveland guy. He was born and raised in Cleveland, so he's hoping for the Indians. He is a struggling Browns fan, just like you. So, he's feeling the woes, but he was pretty excited to see the Cavs go at it, and they're coming back to try and repeat. And Terry Francona, what he's doing with the Indians, my dad's kind of like reminiscing the old days of being a Cleveland fan, Jay.
Oh, yeah. Albert Bell, Jim Thome, Sandy Alomar, catcher. Yes. I remember those so well. Enjoy the rest of your night. Do this again next Tuesday. You have a good one.
Yeah, you too, Jay. Mike, you take it easy, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
That was Izzo, our NHL expert. So I just looked in the studio. I realized why it's been so quiet. Mike dropped his call name back in. Got an interesting fact I want to throw out there real quick. I just saw this on Facebook from, I think from the NFL Network. But Brian Hoyer has gone 4 games without throwing an interception while stepping in for Jay Cutler, who has never in his career gone 3 games without throwing an interception. So I thought that was interesting that Brian Hoyer in the last 4 games, no interceptions. Jay Cutler never in his career has gone 3 games without an interception. Mike, Friday night, 8 o'clock. Let them know once again where to be and what to expect.
Okay, CJ. Yes, Friday night. Hope you join us again for an interesting show. I have CJ Lehman coming on, who had a very good weekend this past weekend, which is why I booked him for this week. He went up to Evergreen and placed 4th in the, I guess up there, they're considered SK mods, the crate mods at Riverhead. He placed 4th in the Visconti Motorsports machine. And then the next day with his family car, what I consider the family car, which used to be a Charger and he runs now as a pro stock in Evergreen, he won the King of the Green event on Sunday in the pro stock division. So he had a very good weekend. We'll be talking to him about his season after the rebuild of the car, which we touched on in my program and also Steve's program in the past when they wrecked the car. He wrecked the car and luckily walked away. He had a head-on crash with the wall. And so we'll be talking to him about his season and what his plans are again for next year. And also a couple of women modified guys, hopefully. And then in the future, hopefully I'll have touch base with Eddie Partridge, and he will get me in touch, hopefully, with Brian Priest. But a very interesting program to wrap up, I guess, the Connecticut season, because the Whelen Modified Tour will now be over. And the next big race off season that I know of, as far as the legend racers, at least, with a couple of other, I guess, divisions participating. I'll find out exactly who's going to go to that. Will be the Turkey Derby in November, but we'll see. I'll see about that in future weeks. But that's the plan for Friday night. Again, will be a couple of Whelen Modified drivers and C.J. Lehman. So another interesting and hopefully entertaining and informative show there on Friday night, C.J.
Definitely looking forward to it. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow night here at the 110 Nation Sports Radio, or the 110 Nation Sports Show right here on the 110 Nation Sports Radio Network. We got Sarah Cornett-Sheen and Dylan Lupton joining us. Very excited about having them on the show. Looking forward to having them on the show. We will also have Shannon Boylan, one of our writers, joining us as we do on every Wednesday. So looking forward to that. Got to make sure that I thank Fit for Life, Snafu Seasoning, I-95 Sports Network, My Radio. Without these guys, all this would not be possible. So I got to make sure I thank them. Make sure you guys check us out on Facebook, 110 Nation Sports. Check us out on Twitter, at 110 Nation. Also, check out our site, www.the110nationsports.com, for all the latest going on right here. Don't forget, tomorrow night's last night. That we're a 2-hour show. Starting Monday, October 24th, we will go to a 3-hour show from 7 to 10 Eastern Standard Time. So make sure that you guys keep that in note. We'll be sharing that on Facebook as well. So look forward to that. Look forward to another great week. With 8 and 7, I want to throw these out there. Mike, Shorty, and myself all had the Arizona Cardinals last night. That made me 8 and 7 for the week. Made Mike 8 and 7 for the week. Shorty went 6 and 9 for the week. With Shannon picking the Jets, he went 7 and 8. That takes us where I am on top still. Win or loss, it didn't matter. I was staying on top for this week. 45 and 33 gets me a 57.7% winning percentage. Nowhere close to where I want to be. I like to be 75%. Shorty falls in at close second, 44 and 34, just one game behind, with a 56.4% winning percentage. Mike still 3 games back with a 41 and 37 record, with a 52.6 winning percentage. And then Shannon's only participated in the last 2 weeks. He's 15 and 15 with a 500 record right now. So that's where we're at. I will be posting that on Facebook as well to let you guys know what's going on with our weekly picks. But I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to welcome all those as we hand around the offering plate. Please make sure you fill out one of those visitor cards for us so we can make sure that I've had so many preachers, pastors, and fathers tell me that. I wanted to pass on the word. If an offering plate does come your way, do make sure you fill out a card so we can keep up with you. But just hit us up on Facebook. Send us a message or on Twitter. Let us know you listened in. Let us know if you're going to be returning back to the show. We're always interested in the listeners, their feedback, and hopefully you'll be back for another show. And tomorrow night, great show with Sarah Cornett-Sheen and Dylan Lupton joining us. Seemed like there was something else I want to throw out there real quick. Must not have been that nothing important. Tomorrow night, back here, 8 o'clock. Don't miss it. Thanks for everybody tuning in. You guys have a great one. Till then.
Thanks for listening to the 110 Nation Sports Show with Mr. CJ Sports. You are a part of the 110 Nation, so be sure to visit the110nation.com for everything related to the show. You can follow CJ on Twitter at 110nation and on Facebook at 110 Nation Sports. Until next time.
When you don't go to Geico.com, car insurance can seem intense. Like breakup R&B intense.
I thought you said you loved the sweater that I got you. If you didn't, you could have told me.
Geico makes it easy. Just go to Geico.com anytime to update or check your policy without all the extra drama.
I even had a gift receipt.